Hello, my name is Colleen LaMotte, and I am lucky to be your student's eighth grade science teacher. I'm not so lucky because I'm home with COVID right now and was very much looking forward to meeting everyone. But alas, it is yet another thing that COVID-19 has interrupted for us. But I am very much hopeful that I will get to meet you soon. So, a little bit about me. This is looking at our campus page right now, and on our homepage, if you ever were interested, you could go and look about me. But as I said, my name is Colleen LaMotte, and the students, because I have children that go to Einstein, well, one son, my son right here, Ari, goes to Einstein. He's a seventh grader. The students started calling me Miss LaMom, which is pretty fun. But I've been teaching for 18 years, and I also get to be a teacher of teachers. I am on our Washington State Science Teachers Board, and I'm a national certified teacher. Outside of school, I'm a mom. I have 3 children. This is my son, Ari. This is my daughter, V. And this is my youngest daughter, Lydia. And this is us on a family vacation in California this summer. My husband and I have been married 15 years, and it's wonderful. This is our dog, Jumbo. We have 2 cats, and then we also have 9 chickens and a little betta fish that Lydia affectionately named Fishy. So in my free time, I love to read, do podcasts, walks, sit in my yard, work in my garden, and I love to do all things DIY. So that's a little bit about me. I'd also like to share with you our Canvas site, because this is a place that students and families can reference for lots of information. On our homepage, we have our week at a glance, and this includes live links for your students to be able to access what they need. We are currently in our first unit of instruction, which is all about collisions. And these are pictures of your students and their personal experiences as we have been doing our learning. In addition to the calendar, you'll find all of the work listed in our modules. So these are written by weeks and lessons, and students are able to access any of these things at any time. Probably the most helpful thing would be the overview. In the overview, students have access to the essential question for the lesson, the routines that we will use in order to do our learning. This is an explanation of all the things that we will do, and then what they need to do if they're absent. And finally, the standards that are addressed in the lesson. Another helpful thing is that for every lesson, with the exception of this, because I haven't been in school due to COVID, we have public resources that we create in this lesson. And these are really helpful resources because these are all of the things that your students will have access to every day during class and during all of the assessments that we need. And this is because in science, we really build our learning together and drive our science thinking forward. So for example, in our lesson 1, this is where we have most of our public resources that are created. We end up with things like our initial class consensus model. So when we were attempting to understand why some things break and others don't upon collision, this was the work that your students came up with in our first period class in trying to explain the things that are happening that we can and cannot see. So those particular resources are very helpful. Some other examples would be class notes. So anything that is written in class, I encourage students to write, but recognize that writing in a notebook is not helpful for all people. And so therefore, if I write anything out, again, students are encouraged to do it, but if they're unable, they have access to it at any time. The last thing that I want to address is grades. Grades are a little bit different than you may be accustomed to. For one, we are using a 4-point scale, and an exciting bit of information is that at Einstein Middle School, now all teachers using the 4-point scale will be using this same system. So this document right here, you will see on other pages of your students' classes, the teacher web pages and Canvas sites. The most important thing that I can say to you is the reason that we do this is to de-emphasize points and learning just for the sake of a grade, but rather are emphasizing the importance of learning for learning's sake and understanding that learning happens over time and that we are constantly updating and revising our learning. The other very important thing is ignore the percentage scores completely. That is because in order to make this 4-point grading system work within a 100-point scale that is the foundation of Canvas, we have to do some mathematical gymnastics. But this is what I would like you to point out, or focus on rather. What does it mean if you see that your child has a 4, a 3, a 2, a 1, or a 0? Please notice that all of this is around what your students are capable of doing. Because remember, we all come in with lots of knowledge and our own unique set of skills. And so depending on where your students are at any moment in time in the unit, they will get a score that will reflect that level of proficiency within each individual standard. So here's a little bit more information about what it looks like in practice. The other page that I want to point out that's really important is that, and this is a little bit less common at Einstein, but for any teacher using this Learning Mastery Gradebook, you will also find this document. And this just shows you that the Learning Mastery Gradebook is an additional tool in Canvas that can communicate your students' progress in each individual standard over time. And I've created this example and key for you so that if you are in the Learning Mastery Gradebook, you will see something that looks like this. We are currently in our first unit, our contact forces. And so each of these little shapes correspond in color with an explanation of what each of these things mean. So if you are wanting to see how your students are doing over time, the best place to look will be in their learning mastery. So right now we've had several assignments. This is just a sample student. Most of them are just either complete or incomplete, meaning they've done it or they haven't. None of these are yet counting toward a particular score. And that is because these are all the assignments that we are doing to learn the concepts. So there are not yet any alignments with any of these standards for our unit, but there will be soon. And so what I want you to see is that these are the ideas that your students will be learning as we complete this first unit of instruction. And you will eventually be able to click through here and see the alignments. This means these are all the opportunities your students have had to show their level of proficiency. I know this is a lot to digest. The biggest takeaway that I would like you to hear is that growth is always possible and that you will see your students' growth. Soon they will be getting an assessment of their initial models. And that just is, where are they? You can kind of think of it as almost like a pretest. It's just, where are they at the beginning of the unit? And you will see that your students will have lots of ones and zeros because they're either not yet showing evidence or they are coming in with an observational level of understanding. But as the unit progresses, it's going to improve. And again, the value of this particular Learning Mastery Gradebook is that you'll be able to see that actual improvement over time. So grades are not final until the end of the semester and everything is revisable. So by the time your student is all done, they should have at least 2 alignments for every standard and they get their highest level of proficiency. And that is always revisable if students do not yet meet the level of proficiency that they are aiming for. And the goal is that everyone gets at least a 3. That they will have multiple opportunities to do more learning and improve their score. Okay, so that's a little bit about me, a little bit about Canvas as a tool, what your students are learning, how we do our learning in our classroom, and how students are assessed on their progress throughout the year. I'm sure there's many more questions you have, and I encourage you to email anytime. I would love to have conversations with people, and I have a little plan about how we might be able to meet in person, even though we had to miss our opportunity this evening. And with that, I hope you enjoy the rest of your visit at Einstein Middle School. Thank you.